you today with a good buddy of mine, Mr. Andre Frank from OptinAmpOut. Andre, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, man. How have things been? We haven't chatted since, I don't know, well, last week or so when we went to Funnel Hacking Live, but even before that is what, like a year and a half? You've been busy.
Yeah, man. It's been a while. It was nice seeing you at the Funnel Hacking Live. What a great event! What a
Absolutely
great event! I
was.
was actually just going over my notes and I was watching some of the footage, and man, like it's just like you can't get that experience anywhere else in the world. When that many brilliant minds come together in one place, it's like a melting pot for greatness.
It absolutely is. And it's a little overwhelming at the same time. Like I'm not a big people person, and there's a lot of people there. So it took a lot for me to actually kind of make it through that week, right? Because you tend to kind of stick with your circle and a few people here and there, and in doing that, you miss out on the opportunity of meeting anybody new. So I was like, I was just trying to get out of my comfort zone and say hi and meet with as many people as possible.
Yeah, man. Well, there's different approaches to the events, man. Like I definitely saw you with like a little crew. I was always seeing you with a crew. I thought you were like just like mastering the networking because you were just like always with a crew. I'm like, wow, he has like an entourage. Like that's so awesome. I was a little envious. I'm like, that's pretty cool. But
Yeah,
I've seen different people. Some people are like more like the quantity over quality. Like I just trying to meet. And some people are like more like the quality. They're just looking to really connect with people, and that's kind of what I try to do. Sometimes it
hmm
doesn't work out that way, and sometimes it does.
yeah. I mean, as far as my little group that you always saw me around, I mean, those are just people that I've met from past FHLs coming together, and as an ambassador now, it put me in a whole different circle uh, in ClickFunnels itself. So just gave me more opportunity to meet more people. And if you were at FHL and you saw me running around, or at least standing at a table with a laptop, I was going live with my buddy Mark. As much as
Mm.
possible, but it was just so much, man. So much to do. So much to do. So what was your biggest takeaway from the
Oh
event?
yeah. Oh man, there were a lot. I would say number one was bold and contrarian claims. Two different people said that, Prince EA, and
Mm-hmm.
also so another one of the content creators. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know for sure Prince EA said that. And maybe it was the guy who does the ads for like Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone, and I think he said something along the lines. And then also, there's a little tidbits on SEO, little SEO stuff, just like a little simple tweaks, SEO tweaks. There's one specific hack. I'm not gonna actually. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll share at the end. If you stick around the end and you remind me, I'll drop the SEO hack that the expert ad guy dropped, and it was a gem. I'm actually considering making like a whole offer around that one using AI to deliver it. And yeah, definitely the bold statements. I actually had a little, I wouldn't say viral, but I had like outperforming an outlier on Instagram, just using a bold claim. It was just ancient secret revealed. Just like a bold claim, and I got like, I mean, it's not hard to have an outlier when you only have like 80 to 100 views. So, yeah, so I used that and it was successful, and that was probably one of the biggest ones. But there's so many, man. It's actually hard to pull out.
For
Because of
sure.
all the wealth of information got that, it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know the hack you're talking about. I don't know if it was the ads guy, but yeah, I've actually started implementing that into my own SEO and content creation deal, at least for one of the clients that I'm working with, since they're cutting out a big content spend. So I have to kind of bootstrap something for them as an employee as well. So it's going to be fun, but you know,
Mm,
is what it is what it
yeah.
is. So last time we talked, man, you were just getting started. We recorded a podcast literally sitting on the floor in one of the offshoot hallways
Oh,
at Funnel Hacking Live. What has happened since then?
Man, there's been a lot that's happened. So, um, so I remember back then. I remember you're like, where do you see yourself in like a year or 5 years or something? I'm like, fired up copywriters working for me. It's like, like so embarrassing, but man, so much has happened. I mean, so much has pivoted. Most notably, I have like two people who are like a part of my organization, and they're also developers. They study computer science. They're overseas. However, they're looking like they're at least going to graduate college, which I didn't do yet, and nor do I plan on doing it. However, so that's probably one of the biggest things. Another one is I actually have a client. Well, I wouldn't say retainer, but I have landed. I work with a client who's like an influencer who has like 6K over across all socials. And that's been a huge learning and experience and growth experience for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And most notably, and is I found my subcategory and my niche and subcategory. Um, and as a former student of software engineering, self-taught kind of web developer, I realized that the most value I could add to the market is working in this new protocol that Anthropic dropped at the end of last year. It's called the Model Context Protocol, and it's just like a fancy word for tool use for AI,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. So I'm going all in at one vector of essentially it's automation, but it's a little bit. It's more of like a base layer to build automations upon, right? So that's probably one of the biggest things is realizing like clarity. Oh, like this is where I can add the most value, and it's such a new field that the experts. I mean, the only real experts are the people who developed it. In terms of like the experts of like serving it to the community and actually deploying it, you know, those are, it's like a race. Who can
Mm-hmm.
build faster and learn the most. So I've just been spending a lot of time, not so much marketing and not so much generating leads, but just getting experiences in technology that I personally believe could be wrong. We'll see. I believe will be a standard moving forward for tool use models.
Nice. Hey, I don't know what's kind of going on here. It looks like your video quality is kind of going out. You actually have it set it pretty high there at 4K. I don't know if you can dial that back down because I'm getting a lot of um,
Okay, I've never used this app before, but
okay.
I can see. Can I do that internally here? Would it be contact support? Would it be because I see not a lot of menu options here. There's a video. Oh, that's a video on, video off. Off. This is a chat. The only menu I see within here is contact support and mute speaker.
Okay. Yeah, I
So I'm gonna
think
go into contact support.
no, it would have to be within the maybe when you initially set it up and came in before I went live for your quality. Um, it's just I don't know if your
Yeah, I
bandwidth
wasn't
is
thinking about that. I was just gonna rush in there.
yeah, I don't know if
Yeah,
your
it's
bandwidth
not. This is
is
not.
is holding 4K quality. That's okay. We can we'll
Yeah,
clean
no,
this
it's
up for
definitely
the
not. Should I go? Should I go out and adjust that and come back in, or how do you want to do this?
yeah, if you want to do that, we can edit this out for the final podcast. It's fine.
Dang, man, I thought I was crushing it, bro.
You were, man, that but
I feel like I was
like
dropping some gems. That's all good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, here, let me go see if I can fix the video quality and put it down to like 720 or something,
okay, cool.
or 1080 or something like that. Yeah.
And we wait. That's okay. Things happen. We're doing it live, folks. We are live. We're just waiting right now for Andre to come back in and figure out his deal. So I appreciate the patience here, but want to make sure this goes off good because we got a lot of good information that's coming in tonight. And yeah, just want to make sure that comes across it clearly because the guy's got a lot. And you're still coming in at 3840.
Yeah, I wasn't. It was not, their user interface is not very easy to get to the account settings. So I went to their little bot and it's like, you just go to account settings. So I'm like, okay, let me open the app, and the app takes me straight to this. Like, you want to join? I'm like, I want to go to my account settings. There's like no way to get there. So it's like, I don't really know what to do. I think you might have to like, I don't know, because it was like, yeah, every time I open the app, it would like push me into this meeting. So there's no real way. I don't know. I mean, maybe we have to like, I don't know. I'm not sure how to get to account settings. It wasn't very intuitive.
All right. Well, we'll rock and roll with what we got and keep it moving.
Yeah.
Just have to go with it.
Yeah, maybe just do audio only.
Yeah, I mean,
or something.
It'll be weird, but you can shut your camera off and do audio only, and then that way it will not wig out.
Do you think that will be better viewing experience for the audience?
Not really, but
if I do that,
it's okay.
So. Not really.
Well, at least they'll be able to hear you, and we can explain. It's like, hey,
video is better than no.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Yeah, do no video that way.
Worse though.
Yeah, do no video that way we can at least hear you.
Okay. Mystery image. Leave them guessing.
Yep.
They see me. That's sweet. This makes it more comfortable for me. I can just like sit back and turn this light off.
That's perfectly fine.
All right, I'm ready when you are.
Hey man, we're rock and roll. We're back. Andre's back. We're gonna go videoless for Andre right now, just due to the fact that the internets are not playing nice and give me a nice clear deal. But yeah, so let's go back to kind of the first question there. Like, what has been new for you since we last had that podcast on the Florida FHL?
Yeah, so definitely the biggest thing is I actually have like I wouldn't even say employees, but I would say like volunteers that believe in the vision. A couple volunteers believe in the vision that may or may not end up being co-founders depending on how much money they're willing to put down on some of the different projects that we're working on. So that's super encouraging. Just having people who are willing to help, that's like super huge. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I landed like a decent client that I've been working with. That I put together his website, did a little funnel for him, did some little automations for his email stuff, and he's an influencer. He has 6 figures on several different accounts, but he's also kind of in a similar boat as me in terms of like, at a certain level of business, but not really satisfied, looking to do more. So we're kind of like in a little similar boat. So it's like an interesting little thing there. So that's huge, like a client that's an influencer, people willing to help. And lastly is I got a huge amount of clarity on my niche and subcategory, like
Okay.
what I want to focus on. And that's been very helpful moving forward because now I know I can, I know what to talk about, and I have an opportunity to position myself as an expert, as this is like an emerging field within the AI space.
Nice. So yeah, so let's talk AI, man. It's all over the place. I mean, OpenAI jumped into the foray. Was it back in 2022? Is that right? I don't even
Mhm.
know, man. It just seems like we've always had
Something
it
like that.
now.
That sounds right. Yeah,
It
that
just seems
sounds
like
about right.
it seems like we've always had it now, just because
Right?
how prolific it is, and how everybody's using it, and how much I use it. I don't think there's a day that goes by that I haven't logged into ChatGPT and prompted it at least 100 times. So, I mean, where do you see the biggest shifts in how AI is going to be altering the marketing landscape?
Man, that is such a good question. And I think it's tremendous. It's going to be, I mean, it is tremendous, and it's only going to get utilized more in different creative ways. So I'm more of an augment guy, where I believe AI is best served to extend the existing capabilities of a human. And with that being said, when it makes sense, I think automations can also be helpful, especially for like really tedious type stuff. But what I've really been kind of captivated by, and I wonder how much, if this is going to take over or not, because there's a lot of kind of different sort of competing philosophies. But the chat interface is addictive, right?
Mm-hmm.
People love being able to have a conversation. Um, and what I think is going to be kind of a standard moving forward is just chat interfaces with tool use. And I don't know how much experience you have with tool use, but typically, without a relatively experienced developer, it would be pretty challenging to get tool use working. Like, you either have to be a developer or hire a developer, which means not a lot of people have access to what it feels like to be able to use tools. And I don't know, some people might be wondering, like, what is a tool? Like, what do you mean by tools? But anytime you actually execute an action or do something on the internet, you could call that a tool. So for example, like if you were to say, hey, ChatGPT, write me an essay and save it to my computer, instead of you copying, pasting, and saving it to a file, you could use a tool to save it directly to your machine. And I think that, I mean, that's what I'm putting, like, going all in right now. And that's where I see the biggest levers being pulled, because it is beyond addicting now. Like right before this call, I just uploaded a blog to my website. It's a very well researched blog, lots of links, um, lots of documentation. And I was able to build this entire blog through the chat interface and post it to my website without leaving the chat interface.
Hmm.
And it is so rewarding because you really feel like a product. You really feel like you're actually, instead of being like a little monkey getting bossed around by the chat GPT that's like telling you what to do, you actually feel like you're the manager and you're telling the AI systems what to do, and it's acting on your behalf. And you're like, oh wait, no, go fix that because that doesn't read right, And it's like, okay, and it'll actually use tools to do the labor for you. So that's kind of what I see is huge, just because that's what I'm head down, nose deep in right now.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's so hard to tell because the rate of acceleration, it's only increasing, um, as far as I can see.
Yeah, and what you sound or what you just explained there was something close to what I tried to dabble in. I don't know, about 6 months ago. This application called Sintra. They have bots that you can set up, powered by GPT, API that will run through a series of sequences and create whatever you wanted to create. So, like, you can have a content creator, you can have, I don't know what else you can have in there, but the one that I was focused on was the content creation bot, to produce these blog posts and things like that, to crank out some content there. Would it have been perfect content? No, because it still needs that human touch to it. But at least to get you going, and that way you don't have that writer's block, which is really nice. So, do you think, with all this AI and automation kind of getting thrown around there, that customers now have different expectations when it comes to offers and promotions? Like, do you expect them to be less expensive, or more expensive when it comes to people selling things?
Man, it's an interesting question. Like, how is AI affecting like customer expectations? Well, I personally, just from a consumer perspective, like answering that, I definitely don't appreciate when people like use AI to cut corners and avoid doing labor. But when they actually, and you can kind of tell the difference, like, but when people use AI to like enhance their labor and refine it, so that sort of like symbiotic, where it's it's not like, you can tell like some people will try to use AI as a crutch to avoid labor. And honestly, I'm guilty of this, honestly, big time. I'm big time guilty of it. So I can notice it even more than others. But like that's going to be a whole balance right there. But in terms to answer your question a little bit more directly, I think a lot of the traditional paradigms, I would put it like this, like, a lot of people like digital marketing compared to traditional old school like direct mail marketing, right? There's certain fundamental principles, like psychological principles, that I think are just going to be there forever. Like if someone offers you something for free, there's gonna be that thing in you is like, you're gonna want to like reciprocate in some way, whether it's your time, your attention.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fundamentals are gonna stay the same, but I just think the game is going to be slightly more inclusive for people with less capital and less resources, who maybe can't hire a developer, who maybe can't hire people to outsource the creative writing or the content creation. I think it opens up the playing field for creative people to be able to have access to, I guess, more higher intelligence labor, if that makes sense. Where typically, if you couldn't afford to hire someone, or you didn't have the ability to learn it yourself, you were kind of screwed, right? Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of thinking like people who are like painters, maybe, who they just spend all their time painting and understanding art. Maybe they don't have time to figure out how to build a website. But now with AI, it's never been easier to learn at a more rapid rate. So, um, I think so it's kind of hard to answer, but I think it's going to be a similar shift from traditional marketing to original marketing, where there's going to be a bunch of like new techniques and strategies and tactics and things, but the fundamentals of like what causes someone to want to buy or want to do business are going to kind of remain the same.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there's really nothing new under the sun. It's just the medium in which it gets developed, and um,
Mm.
most automations aren't artificial intelligence. I mean, the automations are built by a human, right? So they just input equals output,
Mhm.
right? But when it comes to the actual AI stuff, I mean, that's above my pay grade with the those language models and deep learnings and things like that. But I just love how there's certain people out there that intermix the two for what they really are. I mean, it's not really AI. You told it what to do, right? You had to program the sequence of
Mhm.
steps, but GPT itself, man, that's some crazy stuff. The way it's learned, and you can build your own GPTs and input the knowledge of whoever you want in there, and it will spit out what you kind of need, which is really nice. So where do you see some of the mistakes happening right now with small businesses trying to integrate AI into their strategies?
You know, I wouldn't say I have like a real comprehensive data set to draw from. However, I would say, I mean, so there's the chat interface, which can be helpful. Okay. But like really understanding like that there's so much more than just the chat interface that's possible when you start to get into like using the API within your APIs within your business, right? So really it's like APIs and integrations. Like I see a lot of people, say, I use ChatGPT and that's great. You can have a back and forth one-on-one with chat. I think that's really what people kind of are really ingrained in people right now. However, moving forward, I see less of that and more of people, like I would say workflows, like having sets of instructions or tasks that you want to get done in a list and then just issuing that away and then overseeing at the end or potentially even automating that oversight. So I guess, I would say not taking advantage of, I mean, number one, I would say not taking advantage of tool use, right? Because if at the end of the day, the LLM isn't able to take an action for you, it's bossing you around. And like, that's kind of my whole shtick right now is we need to make the models work for us, not the other way around. I mean, it's fine to consult with the artificial intelligence, and get insights and refine your own insights and collaborate with these models. However, at the end of the day, like we have to understand, like we are actually conscious and like have true intelligence. I read something recently that really caused me to think, and he said artificial intelligence doesn't exist. Because this man personally believe, and I kind of tend to agree with him. I'm still kind of having like a internal kind of the search to see where I stand on it. But he says that you can't have intelligence without consciousness. Intelligence does not exist without consciousness, is his claim. And it makes sense when I hear it. And I can't say that I claim to know or not. However, it's an interesting point because and it really comes down to how you define intelligence and consciousness. And the person in the interview was like, "Well, what do you if it's not artificial intelligence, what do you even call it?" And he's like, "You can call it like artificial cleverness." And they're like, the person was asking for example, and the example he gave is like, so let's say, I teach math. I'm a math teacher. There's some students, all they do is just memorize the equation. They don't really get the math. They can't extrapolate, they can't do a proof. They just memorize, regurgitate, and spit it out. That's the cleverness. Whereas the intelligence is like, you understand the system of mathematics. You could pull different systems of mathematics together to create a new solution to an existing problem versus memorizing what exists and regurgitating, if that kind of makes sense. So that was kind of a lot there.
No, it
Maybe
makes
too much, but
no, it makes perfect sense, and I think I'm on the side of that gentleman there. And when you're talking about the having the consciousness, the first thing that came to my mind is an old quote. I don't know who said it, but it's "I think, therefore I am." It's one of the old Greek philosophers. I want to say. Leave a comment below. Let me know who said it. And when it comes to computers, right? Intelligence can be instilled, but it takes a human to input it. It takes human intelligence to make it even work, right? And sure, there could be one line of code that kind of breaks the fourth wall for the whole code to cascade and send the the tentacles out to gather and gobble up all the information to store it in a single source library to then to be able to recall it. But if it can't come up with anything new, it's not intelligent, right?
Right. Well,
If,
I mean, I would even put the line a little bit higher because these systems are pretty powerful. And this is my fear, honestly. Like, I don't think these things will ever be conscious, but I think they will be clever or intelligent enough to trick people into thinking they are. Because I think ultimately the higher level of being is the emotion, the emotional, the experiential of the feelings we get about being alive. I think those encode more information than like the thoughts that we have
Mhm,
personally. And I think that's close. I think it's close. It might be close, but it's like that level of like when you know two different people can look at something and have a feeling, and it might be a similar feeling, but there's going to be some sort of variance there. It's like a complex thing. Like it's not something you can really calculate, or at least we know how to calculate, and it might not be calculatable. It might not. It might be like a higher dimension type of mathematics that we're not given to understand. Like I don't know.
mhm,
I can't claim that I know these things, but I definitely agree with you in the sense that there's only so much that these things can do. And like you said, they're piggybacking off of. All they really are very, you know, sophisticated, um, like you said, means of gathering info and giving it back to you. And with that being said, it might be, I mean, now like something new. I mean, can it come up with a new idea? I mean, I see some of these image generation stuff, and it's like, I've never heard anyone in my life suggest anything remotely close to that image generation that it just generated. You know, so like it might create these kind of novel, kind of like new things where it's like, wow, based on all the data, we realized this combination wasn't created yet. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of possibilities that can exist. So creating something new is not necessarily, you know, to me, like a threshold worthy of like benchmarking, like a threshold. I mean, because like there's a lot of possibilities. Even
mhm,
just between you know the colors of a animal, there's a lot of possibilities there. Very well likely, you could ask your favorite model, ChatGPT or whatever image generation model. I know Imagine from Google is kind of popular. Hey, write me, do a fish, a colorful fish, and it might create a fish that no one has ever thought of or that has never existed. It's possible. I wouldn't discount that, but does that mean it's conscious? No, it just means it's a really clever, sophisticated system.
mhm. So the biggest tool that I've seen most businesses use on my end are chatbots, and I know
Hmm.
last year, year before, that was like the big thing. I'll build you a chatbot. I'll build you a chatbot, and it'll be smart and all this kind of stuff. But again, you had to program it. You had
Uh-huh.
to program the responses based on certain keywords that come into it, right? So
Hmm.
with the API is now available and hooking directly up into GPT, um, how do you see the impact for small businesses in deploying them to their websites?
Man, I think it's going to be a function of, um, yeah, there's a lot there, but primarily the thought that came to mind was depending on the creativity of how it gets deployed and integrated at what part of the sales process. Because I've had some like most chatbot experiences I've had have been mediocre. There have been a couple of them that have been somewhat clever. Like the most notable one is there's like this cybersecurity account. I think it was like an Instagram page, and their chatbot was pretty clean. The thing that surprised me is after I disengaged with it for a while, it DM'd me. It was like, "Hey, do you have like any more questions about cybersecurity?" I was like, I kind of do. Thanks for, it's like that was thoughtful. Thanks for asking. Let's see what else you can. Um, But at the end of the day, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential with um, being able to serve people the information they need. Like, for example, I just interacted with a chatbot when this issue just arose. Like, there's an issue, I didn't know how to solve it. I didn't want to try to search the internet. Boom. The what is this thing called? The spotter? What is it? This app?
Not
You-
familiar.
Whatever the app we're using to stream this, there's a little agent. So I asked it,
Oh, Riverside.
Riverside. Yeah, the Riverside agent showed up. Very helpful. I said, hey, I need to adjust my thing. And it was like, yeah, just go to your account, go to your settings, and then change it here. And I'm like, okay, great. So I go to try to do it. And I was like, "Oh, wow, it wasn't as easy as it said." And me being impatient and somewhat in a rush, instead of going back to the agent and saying, "Hey, I didn't see it. Can you give me step-by-step instructions to, like," you know?
Hmm.
So I would say, I guess the point I'm making here ultimately is, like, integrating you and this is actually freaking huge. I don't even know if I should be saying this on live right now, but integrating, um, user behavior with like intelligent suggestions from chatbots. Like, hey, I noticed that you didn't find the thing you asked for. Did you need help? Like, if that would have popped up in that moment, that would have helped me. Now I'm scatterbrained. I'm kind of like a goldfish. I have a lot of brain trauma. I maybe didn't make the best decisions when I was younger. So my brain doesn't work, super stable. So maybe I'm not like the best person to model off of, but I think that is like a paradigm shifting thing. Like kind of like almost like Hyros, how people track user interactions with the page, but
Hmm.
linking that up with the chatbot request. Like if someone says is like, "Hey, I need to find XYZ," do they find XYZ? If not, then have a trigger to say, "Hey, I noticed you didn't find the thing you were looking for. Are you still looking for it?" And they'd be like, "No, I'm good." Like so, and there's a fine line of being like intrusive and annoying and helpful and observant. So that's kind of what comes to mind when you ask that. But yeah, I mean, there's the front end stuff, but then also just like the back end stuff, like um, where yeah, like integrating the two, like I just suggested, is like there's so much possibility. Literally, the only thing that's holding us back is the technology they have locked up underground and our creativity, right? It's like the instruction and the fuel. Like those are the only things that can hold us back at this point.
Hmm.
And obviously, like disagreeing, that could be a huge hindrance too.
Yeah. Um, so moving from the tool side of it, if companies don't have offers, what do they got? Like, what are they doing, right? So I know during Funnel Hacking Live, like the biggest thing that was harped on for a good 2 days at least was the offer, and that give a mouse a cookie deal with McCall Jones was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um, how do you think AI can help create a level 10 offer for a business that is just utterly irresistible?
Mm. That is a excellent question. So I'm sure there's a numerous amount of ways. Let me try to consider one. So one thing that Russell and one of the guests who I'm angry because I missed this guest. It was for a good reason. I got invited to a breakfast thing. I got to spend some time with some people and like kind of invest in a relationship. But the whole time I was like, I wish I was at the event listening to the speakers. And one of those people, Armin Morris or
Armin Morin, yeah.
Armin Moore. Yeah, he's famous for the offer stack. So one specific thing I can think of off the top of my head is it's never been easier to generate whether it's free assets or somewhat valuable assets, such as like a PDF or like doing research to be able to create like a comprehensive video, that things that you can just pile onto your offer. Like it's never been easier to either come up with ideas to bolster your offer or to use AI to kind of figure out what might be helpful to offer, especially when it comes to market research. And now that I'm saying this, my brain is going like a million miles a minute with the stuff I'm working on, because you can really figure out through people's like online interactions, even just on social media. Like if someone's on social media, you can find out where they're most active. You can see, you can search their account and see, you could pull, you know, what comments they're commenting on, what posts, and then from that, you could probably get a pretty good idea of like the things they're interested in. And if you could do that for like, let's say, you know, ideal customers, or maybe you just, you know, there's ways you can just do market research in a way now that before just would have taken a lot of time and effort, whereas now you can just ask a couple very pointed, detailed questions, have a couple tools set up, and be able to know really exactly what your audience wants in that moment, right? Like,
Mhm.
based or what problems, what are the biggest problems that people are complaining about? And like, it's just market research, right? Before you just had to kind of do it by hand, but now it's just never been easier. So really the people who kind of understand what needs to be done are going to excel even more, um, especially if maybe in the past the person who maybe knew what to do didn't have enough time to get it done. Because let's say maybe they have a family, let's say maybe they have a job, and let's say maybe they're kind of like running low on sleep because their little one is keeping them up at night. You know, instead of actually having to take the time to go and read through all the stuff, now you can expedite that market research to really understand what's in demand right now, and being able to iterate through your offers to see what works quicker,
Mhm.
you know. So that's another really valuable thing, that being able to iterate quickly, which is honestly something I'm guilty of not doing myself. But with this being said, I'm going to implement that.
Good, good. Yeah, I mean, the speed to market is definitely key because, as you know, money loves speed. But these small businesses don't have unlimited budgets like some of these mega corps do. So, I mean, what can they do to help them stay somewhat competitive in that market?
And then the market of making offers, or what market do you referring
Just in
to?
the market in general, like
Uh,
utilizing AI to, you know, compete with the larger businesses. Because with GPT,
mm,
you have two accounts. You have the $20 account, then you do have a Teams account. I think at like 25, but then they just released their um, what do they call their
yeah,
agent for like
yeah,
$200 a month that I've heard mixed reviews about. So, I mean, what can a
yeah.
small business
Oh
do?
man. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's just like I'm thinking about it. It's like, man, what can they do? Well, I mean, the main thing is to just because it's one of those technologies, it's kind of like a jet plane or something, where it's like, um, you know, what can I do as a civilian to defend myself against a jet plane? It's like, well, make sure that the jet plane isn't targeting you, first of all. Like, don't get on the other side of the jet plane. So, I mean, I think of AI, I mean, because it's one of those things where, like, the more money you have, the more comprehensive, like, the more value you can get out of these systems, because you can, it's one thing I'm learning about right now is redundancy. So, there's like this term in data science, and I think it applies to AI to a degree. And not necessarily, but this is just where I'm thinking right now. So there's a term in data science, and it's if you have one, you have zero. And if you have two, you have one. So I'm saying that to say this. With AI systems, the more you're able to generate and verify and validate, the more value you're going to be able to extract from these systems. If you have a small budget, you won't be able to do a fraction of a quarter of a percent of what a corporation can do. Now, with that being said, it doesn't mean it's game over, because at the end of the day, what it comes down to is creativity, right? Creativity and communication. The people who are able to creatively understand what labor needs to get done and how to do it in a way that creates environments where people are magnetically attracted, those are the small businesses that are going to dominate. Easier said than done, but like I said, I think that's the formula right there, is leveraging your creativity to get ultra clear on what are the actual things that AI can do, and AI can do. That's one thing I was thinking about earlier. It's like people who just say like, well, I know AI can't do this, like the massage therapists, for example. I was thinking about massage therapists. I was like, man, if you're a massage therapist, that has to be some pretty ultimate job security, because I don't think anytime soon anyone is going to pay a robot to give them a massage. I'm sure there's
Mm,
people who will, but in general, the human touch is going to dominate in certain industries. And then so just to like understand, well, like what can AI not really do at all, and not even trying to waste your time. I see some people kind of spinning in circles trying to do stuff with AI where it's maybe you're better off just getting a group of people and hashing it out, and going out on a walk and talking about it.
mhm,
Because it's something that requires emotions and maybe intuition, things that AI doesn't really comprehend. And then with that being said, obviously, the things that are math and computer science and technical, yeah, you should definitely see how you can use AI to kind of do what it is that's going to serve your audience the best.
for sure. For sure. So, I mean, I have implemented some tools, at least on my side. I have an AI powered chatbot on my site. I
Right.
just bought an application called Sketch Wow, and finally was able to hook it up to GPT through the API. I finally figured that out.
Nice.
Surprised myself, and so now I can make a call to OpenAI for like a penny and generate images with text and all kinds of crazy stuff with it. And it's professionally done and it takes 2 seconds to do. And I'm like,
Nice.
wow. And it's super cheap. It's like a 1 cent. I had to load my account. I put $20 on my account. But for 1 cent, I can create an image. Less than that. So, with that being said, there's so many different tools out there. I mean, what tools do you recommend for businesses looking to automate and optimize their sales?
That is an excellent question. So I'm super biased, obviously, because like I said, I'm like really all in on the MCP hype train. So I mean, just personally, man, it really depends on what systems that you have and what is taking the most time. So what I would do to answer that question as a business owner is I would think about it like this: what do I or my employees spend the most time doing that's revenue generating activities? Okay, let's say it's answering sales calls. Okay, that's something you might not want to automate. Maybe it's something you do want to try to automate. There are people who are working on that, to for some with better results, some with less. But I would look at it like, okay, so what am I spending the most time doing? Can it be automated? And what percentage of it should be automated, right? Like, for example, let's say you're not willing to automate your sales calls. Let's say you're a small business owner, you have a sales team. What you could do, and this is where the creativity, like I'm saying, it all comes down to creativity and tool use. So what you could do is you could set up a system for your sales team that whenever an objection comes up, you could have it be the call being instantly transcribed. And every time an objection comes up, you could have a tool that connects to a database of all the objections you've ever had or all the objections that exist, and you could either have like predefined kind of like what to say maybe for your new sales rep that aren't so experienced, or you could have like Gen AI generated responses based on the context of that conversation. And if you want to build something, reach out to me because I can make that happen. That's something I literally just thought off on the top of my head. But like stuff like that. So like So there's like augmenting, which is like making something better or someone better. And like I said, I'm all for augmenting because at the end of the day, what we have to keep in mind is like we have to do something. Like if we're not doing something, we're gonna get we're gonna get depressed and sad. And that something doesn't have to be work. Maybe that something is exercising with your family. Maybe we get to the point in the economy where our economic reward is based on exercise or something other than like labor. Maybe it's not exercise. Like I don't know, but all I know is this is like such transformative technology, and it's all based on how we decide to use it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I started to ramble there a little bit. So
You're all good, man. No, there's a lot to take in there. I mean, there's plenty of tools out there. I mean, as I mentioned before, I've integrated on my side, one of my clients' side out in California, and in fact, just hooked it up to an AI receptionist that does pretty well in handling incoming calls. I mean, the calls are only 3 minutes. They're meant to just get the basic information, name, phone number, even possibly email address, and best time to call or schedule an appointment for them to follow up. And that's all it
exactly.
takes, really. I mean, the initial call to take it, get the information, and then call them back. Because anytime you're dealing with phone sales, what I've learned is you want to be the one in control in phone sales. So with the person calling in, they're already in control because they're already catching you off guard. You don't know what they're looking for, and you're scrambling and doing all that kind of stuff, right? So, I learned that in the car business. Somebody calls in, phone lead, get their information, look up the car, off the call, and then give them a call back within 5-10 minutes, right? And that's kind of the window that you have to get back with somebody when they call in and possibly even leave a message, like 5 to 10 minutes. After that, your chance of getting that deal goes down exponentially if you're not following up in the first 5 to 10 minutes of receiving the call. But yeah, you definitely want to flip the script and call them back, because when you're calling them back, you're putting yourself back in control of the sales and the conversation, and you're more composed than taking a live call. So that's what's kind of nice about having the receptionist there, because they're already trained to know what to ask, how to ask it, and get the information they need for you to call them back, which is nice. On top of that, ClickFunnels, man, are you diving into that? Are you elbows deep into that?
Honestly, I'm glad you brought that up because I actually don't actively have a ClickFunnels account. I was waiting. My whole thing was like, I'm not going to pay for it. I'm going to have a client pay for it. I'm going to make an offer, make someone else pay for it. And I have fallen short, but maybe I can ask you after this, but I was like the only one who yelled Todd during the State of the Union. He's like, and by the way, we now have an API. And I was like, yeah, I was like losing it. Everyone's kind of like quiet, like looking at me. I think even Todd looked at me. He's like, what's that guy's problem? Like, what's wrong with him? But like I was like, oh my gosh, you have an API. That means I could make an MCP server for ClickFunnels. So you could get information about your ClickFunnels account now within a chat interface and actually take actions. I haven't seen the ClickFunnels API. That's like my main thing. I DM'd Tom. Obviously, he didn't get back to me. I've been trying to ask people if they've gotten access to it. I would love to read the ClickFunnels API.
Yeah, it's open. I'll show you how to get to it here in a minute. But no, like they're going all in on the API, or not the API, but the AI itself. I mean, even within the account itself, under the help deal, it's run by AI. And even in one of Russell's marketing courses, like there's a Chat GPT Russell, right? You can just ask a question and it'll pull up the answers from all of Russell's information, which is super nice.
Wow.
But again, it's like I mentioned before, it's not conscious. It doesn't think. It's information it already has, and just kind of recalling it for you, right? But regardless of that, but they do have an AI funnel builder in there. So you just tell it the prompt on what your offer is, the type of funnel that you want it to build, whether it's a lead gen, webinar, etc., and it builds it for you. Colors, design, everything based off of best practices. You may have to tweak the copy a little bit, but I mean, it's super, super nice.
Wow.
And this is my shameless plug, man. If you want a 90-day trial, I can get you hooked up for $100. Just hit me up in the comments below, and I'll send you the link. But
I might have to take you up on that.
The applications are like infinite when it comes to just leveraging the technology to get speed to market.
Build.
Yeah, to build and get speed to market. And they don't have to be complicated, and they don't have to be beautiful. I mean, I was on a call just a little bit ago with my client that I'm helping build out his webinar, funnels and sequence and affiliates and all that kind of stuff. And we were talking about how these ugly funnels just sell so much. And it's like, how? Like, I build good stuff. It looks decent. And you got somebody just slapping together something, making, $100,000. Like, how? Tell me the secret. What's the secret? Anyway, I digress. So, yeah, I mean,
yeah, and then what that gets into too, and this is like a whole can of worms. That's going to be. This is like the next thing that people kind of are afraid of. But so like you said, so within ClickFunnels, they have these AI sort of applications, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it gets like this. So, okay, let's say, and it also has an API. So let's say they have an API to call their AI funnel builder. Okay. So what someone could then turn around and do is use AI to make a call to that, which is what I would do. I would be like within my chat interface and be like, hey, go to ClickFunnels and execute this thing. So what happens is you get essentially layers of AI execution. And this is, like I said, this is like the next level. This is like not something a lot of people are really dealing with, but I can almost guarantee you companies like Google, companies like Microsoft, companies like ChatGPT and Anthropic, I can almost guarantee you that they're investigating and researching this to a very great degree, but like layering AI sort of type of things, which is ultimately kind of what the research thing is, right? Where it's like thinking, and it's like thinking and thinking. And I'm sure that's interacting with itself, right? Like essentially making requests to itself. But I mean, now it's like you could do like loops. Like, and I actually heard some of these super genius developers did something like this. And honestly, I might do something like this just so I can put myself on his level. But like, so with the model context protocol, what makes it so incredibly valuable, and I'm gonna keep talking about this because it's something I think everyone needs to know about. You can use it with any large language model. And it can do almost anything. So what you can do is, like, for example, I have one that reaches out to Runway ML and it can generate video.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use that with any model. So you can mix and match models talking to other models. And like, I don't know if that would be helpful for production. This is kind of more of a theoretical thing. But as it relates to application, like it's going to be coming as more and more companies like ClickFunnels integrate AI within their systems. It's going to create the opportunity to kind of like layer sort of AI sort of type of operations. And that's going to be, that's essentially how a single person $1 billion business is going to be built. It's someone essentially mastering that and figuring out a way to have like flawless, what do they call it? Alignment with the command and integrity with the command. Whoever really masters that, that's going to be the person who's able to build an incredibly large business by themselves without hiring people, for better or for worse, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think that's a good idea and people should do that, but I'm just letting the world know that's what I bet. If, you know, because there are all these billionaires like, oh, I bet we're going to be like, they're trying to bet on when the first single person $1 billion company is going to, and I can tell you exactly how it probably is going to happen. It's going to be the person who figures that out really well.
Yeah.
And someone's going to do it. It's only a matter of time. Like the humans are so smart and there's so many problems. And You know, and honestly, I think we have a whole lot more problems than you know, having AI operate business. I think there's some deeper sort of problems that we face as a species. But ultimately, love him or hate him, Elon Musk makes some very valid points. Namely, if we don't leave this planet, then we might go extinct on this planet. It's actually only a matter of time. So whether or not now is the time to start investing in that, he may or may not be wrong. I don't know. Time will tell, you know. But people like that either go down as the greatest villain in history or the greatest hero in history, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know. So
He's got some ideas for sure. He's ran and grown, I don't know, three or more companies, half dozen companies or so, from PayPal to Boring to SpaceX, Tesla. I mean, he's no dummy. So he's probably onto something. Definitely would continue to follow and listen to what
and
he says.
yeah. And then what he did with X is like that was so revolutionary. Like how he acquired Twitter, revamped it. And honestly, I don't use it as much. I was really addicted when I was younger. That was the first time I got addicted to social media was with Twitter. And for some reason, it's hard for me to go back because I just know how addicted I could get. I've never been addicted to something like that. Like just like constantly refreshing, like just waiting for tweets to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, I've never been addicted to something that bad. So I'm kind of like traumatized from that platform. But now that it's been kind of rebranded, I wonder if I should get involved a little bit more.
It's okay. I'm on the premium deal. I'm paying for
Oh,
it, and I see zero reach out of it. So I don't know.
wow.
Maybe I'm not tweeting the right stuff, or tweeting enough, or I'm just boring on Twitter. But yeah, I don't know if they're good enough, or I'm just not interacting enough with it for my stuff to get out. I don't know. I haven't
Hey,
cracked
you
it.
know what, man?
Let me just put it that way. I haven't cracked the code on it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what, dude? I want to help you crack the code because I do actually have a Twitter MCP. That was one of the first MCPs I set up for social media was Twitter. So I want to see if I can help you crack the code using AI, man. Because what we can do, we can just literally, I think the easiest, most straightforward way, I'm sure you've probably already tried done this at small scale, but we can do this at a larger scale. We can just look at within your niche top performing tweets and then compare them with your tweets and then just like consult with AI and just be like, hey, look, here's all those tweets, here are all the top performing tweets, here are the account we're trying to optimize. Why don't you tell us why there's not a reach, you know? And then we can get a little game plan and then see what it suggests. You know, I'll be willing to do that for you, man.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. So coming up over the hour here, I know we had a 5 minute or so hiatus due to some technical difficulties, but as you know, last question here, we're going to wrap this conversation up. We probably go for another hour or two, really, with it. But I'm no
Right.
Joe Rogan, and I got to get to bed. So
I think that.
AI, man, is already changing SEO and PPC. So when it comes to Google, the first results are always as AI generated deals. It's also helping out with content creation. There's more content created ever because of ChatGPT and things like Surfer for optimization. Where do you think the next thing is going to go with AI?
You know, I'm hoping, and this is so counterintuitive, but I'm hoping eventually we get liberated from digital systems and then we just get the digital systems to operate the digital systems on our behalf. And then it'll free us of our dependency of digital systems. And then we can actually just go back to living life as it used to be, where we can just focus on like eating food and kind of like walking around and exploring our environment and like kind of like, like having families and being social. Like that's my dream. And that's what I'm working towards, honestly. That's and that's I said I'm like more of an augmentation person, and that's just because I think AI just doesn't have like any sort of really discernment or like you know like vision or discernment, so that's why I'm kind of saying augmentation for now. But
Mm-hmm.
this is where I say Augmentation into automation into liberation. That's what I'm hoping for. That's my best case scenario. We can have, AI and robots just like kind of doing all the AI like economy things that need to happen that kind of make everything go. And then that just frees people up to just really do what they want. Whether maybe someone does just want to sit at home and code and do hacking and like hack the system and then try to hack the unbeatable ultra freaking cybersecurity AI and see how close they get. Like there might be people who do that. I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to be the person outside riding my bike and like, trying to like, walk around and like meet people and kind of like do stuff like that, but that's just me.
Nice. Yeah. I have no idea where it's going to go myself. But on the marketing side, I just see it getting smarter and better, and you not being able to tell the difference between human and AI. I think it's going to definitely merge into one deal. Like the outputs are going to stop putting out cliches and using the same text patterns and all that kind of stuff that you have to tell it to do now. It's just going to know to do it. So that's where I see it going. And if you're a small business and you're not taking advantage of artificial intelligence, like you are going to be missing the boat. The ones that are taking advantage of, the bots on the websites, the AI, phone receptionists on the inside, they're the ones that are going to be free and be able to work on the business instead of in it and actually grow it without having to hire expensive people. I mean, you think about it. Not saying that small businesses shouldn't create the jobs, right? But if you can take out a lower skilled level employee, somebody that answers the telephone, right, and put in a salesperson that knows how to call and follow up, that is somebody more valuable to you than somebody sitting at a desk, painting their fingernails, waiting for the phone to ring, right? So, that's my take on it. That's my take on it, man. So, man, what kind of deals do you got? Let's leave the guests with some love. You gonna give away that nugget that you kind of teased about earlier, and let them know what you got going on and where they can continue to follow you.
Yeah, totally. So, the little nugget, if you waited, you're a special person. So basically. And I'm going to tell you, and you're probably going to hate on me because it's so obvious, but it's just the truth, okay? Every time someone clicks on your link, every time someone types in, let's say, for example, I have AI automation agency. So every time someone types in AI automation agency and they go and they hit OptinAmpOut.com, they click that, your ranking goes up. So even if it's not on the first page, so let's say they have to scroll to page number 4 in Google, which I realize if you notice, they don't even have multiple pages anymore, at least on the mobile interface. I don't know if you've noticed that or not.
They changed that back about 6 months ago, back to pagination. They got rid of infinite scroll.
Yeah. So every time someone scrolls past other links and clicks on it, it actually gets a boost in the algorithm, which I didn't know that. It makes super common sense now. And with that being said, you can go ahead and go to my website, www.optinampout.com, and book you can go and either email me if you have any questions about AI, or just schedule a call, drop your info, and we'll reach out to you and schedule something up. And also, I'm pretty active on the gram, and that's Andre_agentic_AI on Instagram.
Cool. That link will definitely be in the show notes. Man, Andre, it was great rapping with you again, man. Looks like you've come a long way in the past year and a half since we last spoke. Super proud of what you've been able to accomplish and, landing that long-term client and getting some employees in, man. So again, for those listening, all we've talked about is going to be noted down below. All the links to get the deals are down there. So be sure to check those out and let us know what you thought of this episode. Your feedback's important and helps me help you in the future. So again, this is Brandon, your Chief Business Strategist, signing off here with the Business Growth Accelerator. And here's to your success.